Hello and welcome once again, everyone. Today I'm going to talk about one of the most controversial British destroyers. The HMS Jutland enters the fray at Tier 9 in the Royal Navy destroyer line. I'm a huge fan of the British DD line, and in particular the HMS Lightning at Tier 8. But I must admit I experienced some real teething problems. Once I got over the initial shock of the Jutland feeling significantly weaker, not only due to the stock hull only having 5 guns, the concealment being increased, and gun caliber also reduced, I started to realise what makes the Jutland a real threat and a joy to play. Jutland's main guns come with faster reload speeds and increased angles of penetration for its AP shells, combined with 20% more torpedoes with a 25% increase in range. All combined, it represents a significant buff in damage potential compared to its Tier 8 predecessor, the Lightning. The HMS Jutland has caused a lot of consternation and rant-filled posts on the forums proclaiming its inability to do damage. So I feel compelled to deviate from my usual explanation on how I set up the ship upgrades and captain skills for each ship. Here we have the HMS Jutland without a trained captain. The main battery gun caliber is 113mm, and we can clearly see the armour penetration capability of its high explosive shells is 18mm. Now let's take a closer look at our armour layout to get a typical feel for how virtually all higher tier destroyers look in terms of armour protection, to understand why 113mm armament is not effective and how we can compensate. As we quickly scroll over different sections of the ship, we can see the armour values being typically 19mm, excluding the turrets and superstructure, meaning our 18mm of high explosive penetration is unable to overmatch the 19mm of armour, resulting in shattered shells and therefore does no damage. The solution is the level 4 captain skill called Inertia Fuse for High Explosive Shells, or better known as IFHE in the community, which will increase the penetration power of high explosive shells for gun calibers under 139mm by 30%. So let's reassign our commander with this skill trained to see the updated values, and we can see our high explosive armour penetration capability has increased to 24mm, allowing us to overmatch, penetrate and do high explosive damage to all destroyers having this 19mm armour plating. And hey presto, problem solved. So without further ado, let's take a look at the ship's base stats. 21,550 hit points, artillery. We come with 3 113mm dual turrets, 2 at the front, 1 at the back, and all are capable of turning 360 degrees. We get 2 X5 torpedo launchers with 10 kilometers of range, not an insignificant AA defense, maneuverability, base speed of 34 kilometers, turning circle of 610 meters, 3.4 seconds rudder shift, and a concealment of 5.7 kilometers. Let's take a look at the ship upgrades. Main armaments modification 1, damage control 1, aiming systems 1, steering gears mod 2, concealment system mod 1, and main battery modification 3. Let's go to the captain skills, preventive maintenance, Last Stand, Adrenaline Rush, Survivability Expert, Basic Firing Training, Inertia Fuse for High Explosive Shells or IFHE, and Concealment Expert. I'm uploading World of Warships content regularly now to YouTube, so if you want to keep in touch, just follow the on-screen instructions. We can see here from the team lineup we are faced with an enemy aircraft carrier, the Hiryu, 4 enemy destroyers, with 1 radar cruiser, the Baltimore. The first item on my checklist every time I play destroyers is to identify the biggest threats on the enemy team. With carriers in the game, a destroyer's responsibility to spot and locate the enemy can be drastically affected due to the location of enemy squadrons, so playing passively at the start, simply to ascertain the location of the enemy fleet, is of paramount importance. Simply just rushing in, attempting to cap quickly, is just a fool's errand. One of the great strengths of the HMS Jutland is its survivability, the ability to engage yet quickly disengage if need be, to live and fight another day, so to speak. I find it excels in the role of defensive scout, like many of its predecessors in the British destroyer line, but when the opportunity arises, it has the capability of pumping out some amazing damage when called upon. My plan here is to use the island cover on my left to initially block any attempt by enemy destroyers to cap the point. I have the friendly Utili on my right, with a Kronstadt providing potential radar support, with 2 battleships a little further behind. Enemy mass has been spotted, and a second destroyer there as well, which instantly smoked up. So I've got 2 destroyers in the cap. Just going to turn on my hydro here to spot any potential torpedoes. There's the first spread coming down there. An enemy Scharnhorst spotted moving in there from the rear. Destroyers have backed away from the cap. I'm just going to start shelling this enemy Scharnhorst while the opportunity arises. Enemy destroyers are back in the cap. I can see it's the Jutland. He's reversing back into a smoke screen to block the cap process. My hydro is spotting all the torps. Our friendly carrier has come in and is spotting the Jutland. Enemy Jutland is just in a position where I'm unable to lob shells over the island at him, so I just maintain focus on the Scharnhorst. But he is being driven back. Just going to continue to shell the enemy Scharnhorst. I would just like to force this support backwards, which will make any fight against these destroyers a little easier. The enemy Jutland is backing off, it would seem, while the enemy mass is still in the cap, blocking any progress. Tempted to come out here, but I lose all vision on all targets, so I just hit the brakes. I'm just going to reverse back here because I can see now that the enemy smoke screen has dispersed and I've got a friendly torpedo squadron coming in. I'm just going to start pinging the map here where that enemy mass is still located, so I will get spotting on him. So I'll just push out. Okay, he has pushed in back in again. I wasn't expecting that. I'm just going to quickly shell him. He has got his hydro active, so I'm going to be forced to fall back here. Enemy Jutland is shelling me from his smoke. Enemy mass is showing broadside, so I quickly switch to AP, try and punish him. The enemy Jutland is shelling me all the time from his smoke. quickly change back to high explosive as he's angled away. I'm locked into this turn now because of the enemy's mass's torpedoes, and this is one of the few weaknesses of the Jutland. When you're forced to kite away, you can only really bring your rear guns to bear. Quickly turn and try and finish off this enemy mass. Bring my front guns to bear. He's just gone undetected there. Hopefully those shells are on point. Okay, and we take out the enemy mass. I've come out of this engagement incredibly well, losing very little health, primarily due to the fact that the enemy Jutland didn't have IFHE, and the vast majority of his shells were just shattering on my hull. The mass was under extreme pressure, focusing on fleeing and torping instead of shooting, and their supporting Scharnhorst had been forced backwards earlier. My friendly Udali has picked a very precarious spot to come to a standstill in a cap point, and despite being angled away, he eats 2 torpedoes from the since departed mass. And virtually in the same breath, we can see the enemy Jutland reversing out across the channel, full broadside, and sure enough, he takes 2 torpedoes and goes down as well. I fired prematurely there at the Jutland in an attempt to secure the kill, and in the process I get detected by the Scharnhorst. I quickly open fire and smoke up. I switch back to high explosive to try and get some fire started, and I'm instantly rewarded with a double fire. I do expect him to repair, so I just keep shelling with HE, but it soon becomes clear his damage control is on cooldown, so I can switch back to AP to maximize damage output. Scharnhorst briefly gets undetected. Always remember to stay mobile in your smoke to attempt to evade any potential blind fire, and the enemy Scharnhorst quickly goes down. That leaves us free to capture the A point now without further resistance. I use these short moments of downtime between the action to examine the minimap, looking for targets of opportunity, or simply deciding whether to take up a defensive or offensive position. The Jutland is the first destroyer in the British line that comes with a self-heal, and while not being overpowered, it is enough to recover small amounts of HE damage. We are over 100 points behind, a ship down, but more importantly we can see half the DDs are already dead. This is a recurring theme you will see quite a bit of in random battles, where most of the destroyers, if not all, do not survive these initial engagements. Let's just quickly examine the engagement at A. The mass re-entered the cap point with his smoke on cooldown, leaving himself extremely vulnerable to detection and any close range engagement, while the Udali and Jutland chose extremely poor positions to either stop or reverse in channels that, due to the presence of enemy destroyers, there will virtually always be torps incoming. So I've identified that the Musashi here is on his own, so I've decided to give chase. Enemy lightning had smoked up in the D cap, so I'm pretty sure there's no support for this Musashi at the moment, so I feel quite comfortable gunboating in the open. The majority of the enemy fleet seems to be on the 9-10 lines, so my intention is to chase this Musashi away. Gonna fire on him. He's fired his rear guns. Just gonna start maneuvering. Just want to keep forcing him backwards. He did manage to hit me there. I would like to get some additional fires on him. Okay, he's healed up. Just want to keep forcing him away. I don't have the intention of killing him at the moment. It's going to be quite difficult. Just forcing him back far enough that I can cap this B point. You can see with this amazing reload speed, the Jutland is truly a fearsome gunboat when opportunity arises. see, it can be a little bit difficult to land shells at extreme range. Let's fire it again, and I'll slow down and cut in. I did manage to land another shell. I'm just going to smoke up here. I don't want to be getting too close to this Musashi, as his shells can do quite a lot of damage, and he landed a shell right on my bow. Okay, gotta put fire on him. Just going to chill in the smoke, continue to rain down shells on him. There's a second fire. That will continue to burn. Just going to stop firing, angle away. I've surely attracted some attention now. There is another Japanese destroyer, the Yugumo, on the enemy team that remains unspotted, and that could easily be lurking around in the area. Oh, incoming torps. And I consider myself quite fortunate here. I neglected to activate my hydro, which could have proved fatal. Despite the fact now we've just secured the third capture point, the situation is becoming quite dire. We are almost 300 points behind. We're down 6 ships to 3. I'm suddenly detected. Okay, Yugumo has attempted to flank us to the north. I'm going to have to turn rapidly and get in and try and engage him. I use my final heal. And here comes enemy dive bombers. I'm going to have to quickly close distance with my Kronstadt to try and combine our anti-aircraft fire. The Kronstadt is my only support ship here in the north. I need to keep him alive as long as possible. Quickly focus the incoming planes instead of the outgoing ones. Enemy Yugumo appears. Quickly put fire on him. Yugumo is deceptively quick. Gonna have to change to high explosives. He's angled away. And he's fleeing. I actually took damage. Did the enemy dive bombers actually drop on me there? I'm not actually quite sure. Yugumo's quite a difficult target to hit when he's trying to flee like this. I expect he is trying to go dark and go undetected. So I need to get hopefully a fire on him, possibly, to bloom his detection radius. Take out one of his guns, but he does get undetected. We've just lost another 2 ships. Now we're in a 4-on-7 situation. Enemy Yugumo has got undetected and is fleeing away at high speed. And it is one of the drawbacks of the Jutland. You will be unable to run down faster targets like the Yugumo in situations like this. I'm urging my Kronstadt to use his radar and possibly detect him. It's during vital moments like this when the sacrifice of dropping RPF for IFHE really can hurt your chances of winning. Enemy Yugumo is fleeing and well outside my detection range now. Turpets be in the distance. Oh, and the enemy aircraft carrier pops up. Enemy hear you right behind the island. It seems he's going behind the island, and he's launched 2 more dive bomber squadrons. I'm going to quickly put some fire on the CV, but use the Yugumo smokescreen to try and break line of sight with these dive bombers and once again close distance so we can combine anti-aircraft fire with my Kronstadt. I'm going to have to quickly eliminate this enemy CV. Enemy Yugumo reappears. He had got quite further away than I actually thought. Immediately put fire on the Yugumo. Oh, and my friendly Kronstadt managed to just get some great hits on the enemy destroyer. The enemy Yugumo is deceptively quick. He must be speed boosting. Unable to reliably land shells here. I'm gonna have to switch to high. Yeah, I'm gonna have to switch to high explosive again as he's angled away. And I need to land some shells here before he escapes. We're now in a 6-on-3 situation. Oh, and that's big. We managed to take out the Yugumo. It's now 5-on-3. We're virtually level on points. Gonna have to quickly get around this island and focus on these dive bombers. He's launched again. Okay, get away with that. Focus on his next squad. Gonna have to put some torps in this guy and kill him quickly. Right in front. I do expect him to turn away, so I'll put one behind as well. He's taken out both of my front and rear guns. Managed to get a fire on him. It's immaterial. The torps should finish him off. Enemy Musashi reappears, and the enemy Hiryu goes down. Instantly put some fire on this enemy Musashi. He's fully focused on me, as it would seem. I think I'm going to have to smoke up here. Oh, instantly a double fire. It's a big, always a bonus. Just going to keep high explosive for the moment. I do expect him to repair. He managed to land some good hits on me. He does repair those fires. Continue with high explosive for the moment to reset some fires. There's a fire. And a second one. Those will be permanent. And quickly switch to armor piercing. We've only got a couple of seconds left in this smoke screen. He does unfortunately take out my friendly Kronstadt. And we're now from that 7-on-3, we've suddenly reduced it to a 3-on-2. In a very short period of time we get the Witherer. I've misjudged the distance to the planes. And I've crashed into the wreck. I instantly knock off my anti-aircraft fire. Oh, but that could have been so costly. The carrier that was so anxious to kill me in life is doing almost equally a good job in death. We get the high caliber award, but we're very fortunate to escape there. A mistake all of my own making, of course. Enemy Musashi has repaired those 2 fires. We have taken a 100-point lead. There are 2 minutes on the clock. We've managed to do 170,000 damage. I do expect this Musashi to turn away. He is being urged by his teammates in chat to contest the B cap, so I've put a spread in front of him to the left and to the right in case he happens to turn either direction. I only really need to land one hit and hopefully get a flooding here. He does seem to have turned slightly inwards. We might get one on them here. Yes, we do. We get a hit and a flooding, which he repairs. I'm just going to pull distance. We have the points lead. We have 2 caps. There is no point in taking any crazy risks here for the moment. I mistakenly fired armor piercing there. I meant to fire high explosive. Just going to angle away. I need to show more broadside to get my front guns going. There we go. It's more like it. I just need to get one fire on this guy. He has got his guns turned on me now.
Our victory is in sight.
Okay, he's fired. Turn sharply. And it's not. Oh, and we do get a fire. right with that last volley. And that fire should burn on him permanently. This match has been on a knife's edge for a long period of time. Into the final 10 seconds. And with 7 seconds on the clock, we get the Arsonist and Kraken Unleashed and the win. A very exciting game. Looking at the results screen, we did almost 200,000 damage, 5 kills, 4 achievements including Kraken Unleashed and High Caliber, over 2700 base XP, demonstrating how powerful the Jutland can be. I hope you enjoyed the video and found it helpful. I'm uploading content regularly to YouTube, so if you want to keep in touch, just follow the on-screen instructions, and thanks once again all for watching.